Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. This is Unshackled Fury.
Love is in the air, and a new moon is rising as the Super Bowl hangover is in full effect. So welcome back for episode 142 of your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berzerker, and with me once again is the one-man gang known as Mr. Jez Corden. Welcome back again, good sir.
Hello, and how you doing, man? It's been a little while. Couple of weeks, a little over a couple of weeks since we recorded, I suppose.
Little over. We're a little late. This is my fault. We had Super Bowl, which you may or may not be aware is an unofficial American holiday. Or maybe the Monday after should be, because everybody gets all fucked up because of the Super Bowl on Sunday, and then Monday everybody just drags ass into the office, assuming you go into one. And it's terrible. And yeah, it was my fault because one, I had the Super Bowl to deal with, and I might actually talk a little bit more about that later. I see something on the agenda. But the other was, I actually went and saw, believe it or not, I saw a show, a Broadway show about 6 of your queens.
We've had more than 6. Damn.
Well, these were the ones that were married to Henry VIII.
Oh, that whole thing. Yeah. Did they all count as queens? I thought maybe some of them would be consorts or something.
Well, maybe some of them might have been consorts, but
I didn't take history at school, you see. See, in Britain, you can choose between history and some other subjects, and I dropped history like a brick. So I've got huge gaps in my knowledge that I think most of the people know pretty instantly.
Well, it was both informative and enlightening. It is a modern take on the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and they're all embodying the personalities of pop stars. So it's like a very glamorous affair, and they all take turns.
I've heard of this.
It's called 6, and it's each one of them takes turns singing a song and pleading their case that they had it the worst. And
I've heard of this. My girlfriend's told me about this. Yeah,
I will say right out of the gate here, definitely not intended or marketed towards me, right? My demographic. I was one of maybe but 5 clearly straight white male in middle-aged capacity. I was very much in the minority there, but always appreciate a good Broadway show, and it was quite a production. Anne Boleyn going on the whole time about being decapitated. It was a pretty hilarious affair.
Sounds good.
But yeah, I got a little history lesson on your people. So
that's wonderful. You probably know more than me now.
Well, this is also on the heels of. It's also on the heels of us seeing an exhibit at a museum in San Francisco several months ago about the Tudor era. And so I got to see a lot of interesting stuff there. So yeah, I'm trying to catch up, man. I'm trying to catch up, so I know what I'm doing here. But one other thing that was going on, and this is going to play into our metal album of the week, and we're gonna go for a little bit of a ride here, Jez.
Oh.
And if anybody listening to this is squeamish, I apologize in advance, because we're going to go places. So here we go. a week ago yesterday, because we're recording on this on a Tuesday, the 13th, and I promise I will get it out tonight to you fine people because we're already delayed. A week ago yesterday, I had to go in for a little procedure on my back. And as longtime listeners of the show know, many moons ago, I was in a horrible car accident, had some spinal damage that is long lasting and to this day and will forever get worse. It wasn't that, surprisingly enough, but it was in a very close area. I had this like disgusting growth that was growing underneath my skin. And I know it was, I think they call it like a lipoma. So if you look that shit up, you might see what that is. But it's essentially like a sac. Nobody knows why it's there. Nobody knows where it came from, but it's like a sac that fills up with like gunk. And it like pushes up on your skin. So you look like a Dr. Pimple Popper patient. Like you got this thing like there, right? And years ago, I had it drained because they said, well, you can have it cut out or you can have it drained. And I said, well, I don't cut it out. Just drain the fucking thing. Because I'm thinking they'll just jam in a big ass needle, which I've had like drain of a knee and they pull out fluid and whatever. It's fine. Oh no. They like cut me open and squeezed this shit out and it got infected. And long story short, I ended up with like, seriously, it looked like a bullet wound scar on my back where this thing was.
Oh snap.
And it was gnarly. And they told me, well, because we didn't remove the sac itself, there's a good chance it'll come back. It'll fill back up. And I'm like, oh fuck. So
well, that's
forward.
Delightful.
Delightful, right? Well, fast forward to last week, and I had an appointment to have it cut out. And I'm thinking, all right, well, they're gonna, it's pretty good size at this point. It's a few inches, like, in terms of its diameter. And I'm thinking, well, they'll just, make a little slice and they'll just pop it out and sew me back up. That was also their plan, but that's not exactly how it went down. So as I'm laying there on this table, the very nice doctor surgeon who's in charge of this, there's a team of these five women that are working on me over here. And one of them says, hey, what do you want to listen to? We'll let you pick. And I'm like, well, shit, that's awesome.
Generous.
I'm like, that's what I said. Oh, that's very nice of you. I said, well, I don't know. You got any power metal? And she's like, well, I've never heard of that. And I said, well, fire it up if you can find it. And I said, well, I got Spotify right here and there's a power metal playlist. And I said, oh, that's perfect. Fire it up. So they press play and I have no fucking clue what song is coming on. I'm like, I've never heard of this. This is not the power metal I'm thinking of. This is some terrible opening act bullshit. I'm like, I don't know what this is. This sounds awful. And they get to, they get to business. They get to cutting. They, they've numbed me up to a certain part. And they open it up while this, horrible music is playing. And they go, I hear like, oh, would you look over there? Let's see. Oh, we gotta go. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on back there? Oh, well, it's a little more complicated than we thought. I said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, it's not just like in a nice little kind of shape. It's kind of spread out all over the place. It's good that we're listening to whatever this power metal is. I said, yeah, it's usually about like dragons and stuff. And she says, well, this is kind of like a dragon. It's got like, horns and fangs and claws. And like, we're really going to have to start digging back here. And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Oh, dear.
So they've numbed me up for the most part, but they did zap. They're like using like one of these electric scalpel deals, right? Where like they have to put a huge patch, like a conductive patch on my forearm, so that way like they can like make sure that the circuit doesn't break and they don't like electrocute me or whatever. And so I can feel them like tugging. It feels like a rubber band snap, and it's like and they're like working around this area, and they've clearly got me flayed open because they asked for like skin hooks at some point. So I know that like I'm sitting there looking like I'm out of fucking Hellraiser or something if I got a chance to look at it. And they're cutting away and they're doing their thing. And like the next song comes on and it's some other fucking terrible. And I'm like, I know that this is within the power metal vein somewhere, but this is like the shitty version. And I'm apologizing to these women. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I meant to like, I should have just said fucking Metallica or something like way more mainstream. This is terrible. I don't know what this is. And they're cutting away and they're cutting away. And the next song comes on and it's another shitty song. And I'm like, oh my God. And, you know, I'm getting tugged on and pulled on and cut open and all this stuff is going on. And I can feel stuff squirting around. And I mean, it's just chaos all over the place, right? Finally, one Sabaton song comes on that I know about, the Red Baron. And it's a really good song. And that comes on. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Oh, I said, this is power metal. This is real power metal. I don't know what that other shit was, but this is real power metal. And they're continuing to work away. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute procedure. We're like 30 minutes in now. And then the next song comes on. It's some other shitty band. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't know what this is. And I am so sorry. I should have picked something else. They tried to use Siri on their phone to like change it and they couldn't because they're all gloved up now. They can't change it. They can't touch the phone, right? Everything's secured, clean, sterile. So we're getting towards the end of this whole expedition with the shitty songs on here, and I'm getting pulled and tugged, and I'm still recovering a week later, and I've got a 4-inch incision that's just nasty looking on my back. I mean, it's a clean job, but I got big old stitches and a whole bunch of shit going on back there. It's bruised to fuck because clearly they had to work in a much wider area than I thought. But as they're getting done, as they're getting close to done, a song comes on, and I'm like, I think I know what this is because it sounds like pirate music. And I'm like, I think I know this. And as I'm listening to it and as they're finishing up, it's like, I'm a fucking pirate. I'm a fucking pirate. Fucking pirate. Fucking pirate. I'm like, oh my God, what in? And I'm like, ladies, I am so sorry. And they're like, I think we've had enough. And they were like, let's sew him up. And then one of them degloved and turned off the music. So I have for you today, by the band Ailstorm, Seventh Rum of a Seventh Rum, and the song "The Battle of Cape Fear River" is the one that we were listening to when they finally had to turn it on.
That's hilarious.
Ailstorm is a great band. They have a great motif. They're actually a Scottish heavy metal band, and you know, their stuff is always this sort of play on more mainstream serious metal, and they have this you know, kind of piratey vibe to it, and they're great. They have a great aesthetic, and it was the wrong time for this one, I think. But needless to say, I'm sure that surgeon and that team will never forget the time that they were introduced to power metal by some asshole that they were having to cut open and work on, who was like, let's listen to it. And it all ended with, I'm a fucking pirate. So, Seventh Rum of a Seventh Rum. That is your metal album of the week by Ailstorm.
Oh man, Ailstorm's a great band to listen to when you're drunk. Really great band.
100%. I've caught them over the years, and they're definitely, they have such a good attitude, and it's such a welcome vein, but in the right setting. That's all I would say. So, I did mention something about a Super Bowl earlier, and I do have a raid segment that I need to make happen. So I'm just gonna apologize ahead of time, Jez. I'm sorry. Let's rage. So as I said, Sunday was the Super Bowl. Which, Jez, I don't expect you to know what that is, but it is American football. The two best teams supposedly get together and duke it out for the championship, for what they call the Super Bowl championship, and they get what's called the Lombardi Trophy, which was the name. Vince Lombardi was the first coach who won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers.
They get a ring, right? They get a ring.
And they get a big-ass ring, which we have a family friend who used to work for my favorite team who was in the Super Bowl, San Francisco 49ers, and I've seen one of these in person, and they're fucking massive, bro. Like, you could crush a mountain with these things. I
know about the ring because of Ace Ventura. The first.
There you go.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
My 49ers beat Dan Marino's Dolphins for that Super Bowl. And so there you go. So, you know, I've seen Super Bowls. I watched them all my life. I'm a football fan number one. I grew up a 49er fan, had great times in the 80s and 90s. And the last time they won a Super Bowl was in 94, but they remained competitive for a long time. And they got back a couple years ago, 4 years ago, against the same team they played last weekend, and then several years ago against another team. And it didn't go our way. It did not go our way.
No.
And Jez, I've got to ask you, even if you knew nothing at all about this sport or any other, would you think that as the coach, as the head coach of a team, that you should know the overtime rules if you were in the championship game of your given sport?
I would have thought so. What went down exactly?
Right. Well, in the Super Bowl or the playoffs, one or both, apparently there are different rules for overtime concerning how many times people get the ball and what happens if they score with it when they first get it. In a regular season, and now this is a little complicated, but if you kick a field goal, which is 3 points, with the first possession in overtime, the other team gets a chance to get the ball and go down and score. If they score a touchdown, which is worth 6 points, then they win. If they kick a field goal and tie it again, then they just play into whoever scores next, sudden death. In the Super Bowl, if you score a touchdown with your first possession, you don't automatically win. The other team still gets a chance. And that changes the calculus when you're trying to determine possession. So they do a coin toss to determine who gets the ball first. And knowing those rules will help a team determine, should you keep the ball or should you give the ball away first? And our dumbass coach, choke artist, Kyle Shanahan, didn't know the fucking rules. And after the game, he and a couple of the players were like, we didn't know the rules. And I am beside myself with anger against all the grief I feel for once again blowing the biggest game of our lives. They didn't know the fucking rules as the head goddamn coach. And I don't know how that happens.
That sounds like quite an esoteric kind of rule. Is that like a generally well-known rule? Did you know the rule?
I did not know that.
Like,
but I'm also not being paid millions of dollars to coach that team.
Yeah, I suppose so. But like most people know like most of the rules of like soccer, as you guys call it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You even put the American accent on it. Good for you.
Yeah. When I'm watching soccer with my homies. Love it. But I get the impression that it's football, British football, European football, well, global football really. It's basically football in every other country except America. The rules are fairly simple. Kick ball into net. And then so that's pretty much it. But like American football, like when I have caught it every now and then in like a TV show or just in passing, it seems fairly complicated.
It's very complicated. And that's why every one of these head coaches is supposed to be some Mensa level genius in order to come up with all the plays and scheme against all of these things. And it's like this very brutal form of chess in a certain kind of way. And especially the 49ers coach, Kyle Shanahan, he's supposed to be some sort of, genius because his father was a head coach, won some Super Bowls, and so now he's trying to live up to Pop's, a legacy. And it's been bad. Now I was going to come on here and I was going to talk about how do you not make your fucking extra point kicks, because our kicker Jake Moody is the worst kicker in history. Poor guy's a rookie and he missed the most basic easy extra point kick after a touchdown, and that could have also won the game. But when you have people come on and say that they don't know the fucking rules in overtime in the most important game of your life, that's unforgivable, Jez. I don't know. And now we have to live with the stink and the shame and the ball and chain that is this game for the rest of our lives. It's awful. So,
well, explain this to me.
Yes.
What did Taylor Swift have to do with it? Because I have no...
honestly, almost nothing other than the fact that she is dating one of the best players on the Kansas City Chiefs, which was the other team. And they've been dating and she shows up at the games. And so because she's like the biggest pop star in the world, they show her on TV, and she's gotten a lot of women and girls interested in the game that never could have given a shit less. So their viewership is exploding. So it becomes lost in the cacophony of, it's a secret ops government bullshit because like, God forbid a famous woman showing up to football games. This is supposed to be an exclusively masculine domain. It's so dumb. I couldn't give a shit. Like, is it annoying? Yeah, it's annoying as hell. Like, I'm there to watch the game. I don't give a shit who's in the stands. Like, the whole celebrity culture around the NFL has gotten like way out of hand. But you know what? She's putting more people's attention on the game, and that I think is good, because I'm always happy to have more people like the game because it's my favorite. So,
well, I suppose even I am vaguely aware of it because of the whole Taylor Swift drama. So, you know, it's not a thing here at all. Like you don't see it on TV. It's not on the news. Nobody cares. But because of the Taylor Swift stuff, it's been like, oh, this is a thing now. So I think you've even got like British women watching it as well, probably.
See, that's how big it is, and the NFL is getting a little bigger in Europe. So you know, they'll take anything they can get. But
yeah, there's like 4 people watching it now instead of 2.
That's right. There's almost enough for one part of a bar, one ledge of a bar somewhere. So that is your rage segment for this week. I know a lot of people are happy the Chiefs won. I'm not, so I will be happy when baseball starts in a month. But that's what we've got for now, and we've got plenty of new stuff. Already taken up 20 minutes just talking about my garbage. So let's talk about some new stuff and some actual Warcraft stuff that people tuned in for. So let's head into our news. Last time we were here, it was a pretty somber affair because we were talking about all the layoffs and all the horrible shit that happened and surprised everybody. And there hasn't been a whole lot of news coming out like since, but we have seen a few more people that have given their, I don't know, notice, so to speak, or their job was affected in some way. So there's still been more here and there that have trickled out. It wasn't quite settled the last time we were here, so there is still some more news coming about that. But there was one name that has popped up recently that doesn't appear to have to do with the layoffs directly. We don't know what actually happened here, but Steve Denuser, who was the lead narrative person for World of Warcraft, appears to have left Blizzard back in November, and nobody knew. Nobody said anything. There was no announcement of any kind. The only reason that we finally picked up on it is, I believe, a Spanish news site picked up on his LinkedIn, had been updated to say that he had been gone since November, and that's all we know. Nobody else has said anything. Nobody else has commented on it. And Jez, you've been around a lot of these departure situations, and to me, this feels like either somebody got in trouble or they just really didn't want any kind of fanfare about it at all.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I actually interviewed Steve Denuser. I think I interviewed him twice over the years for different Warcraft expansions and patches and stuff. Seems like a cool guy, you know. I didn't really get to speak to him in an informal capacity at all, but he's been the subject of quite a fair bit of criticism, I would say, from some corners of the Warcraft fandom. People blame him for Shadowlands and some of the, you know, I don't know. I hesitate. People always call it fan fiction when they don't like the way a character's been written or the direction a character's gone in. But fan fiction and Steve Denuser seem to crop up in the same paragraphs of critique very often. You know, with regards to the way some of the characters have evolved or devolved over time. I would say, I don't know if it's fair. Honestly, I haven't had an intimate conversation with anyone at Blizzard personally about who was making the lion's share of some of those less popular decisions. I would guess that it was maybe a group effort and that Steve Denuser was scapegoated a little bit, maybe. But who knows? Maybe it was all of his fault. But yeah, one of the big areas of criticism for WoW has been the writing in recent years. Like, people always say the art's great and on point. Like the gameplay's, been decent. The raids have been good, and for the most part, Shadowlands dropped off. The art was still good in Shadowlands, I would say, but Shadowlands dropped off in multiple ways, I would think. But the writing's something that's been criticized pretty much consistently for quite a long time. So his departure was like, I was like, oh damn, this is the guy everyone doesn't like. So I was kind of like, I was surprised, but also, I don't know, maybe not at the same time. I will say, like, just to, as an addendum to the layoff story, the FTC, just before we get into Steve Denusa himself, the FTC's been scrutinizing this, and they've been trying to use it as part of the court case, because the FTC, for some reason, they've got a serious bone to pick with Microsoft buying Activision. They think it's monopolistic behavior, even though PlayStation, Tencent are very sort of companies, non-American companies, in fact, are still bigger than Microsoft by revenue. And even though Microsoft paid a massive premium for ABK, and even though they've reported a 500 million operating loss from buying ABK, which is not a good place to be if you're Xbox, Microsoft does not like its divisions operating at a loss ever. So that's spooky. But apparently, despite all that, these layoffs were already pre-planned by Activision. And Microsoft submitted, under oath, basically, that was the case, in a formal response to that. So these layoffs would have happened regardless, and that begs the question: did Steve Denusa leave, or were they planning to let him go? Because I suppose
that's a good question.
Could this have been like, sort of let's assume, for example, that Microsoft does have evidence these layoffs were pre-planned, and I would presume they have if they've submitted that to a judge.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they wouldn't say that, and then the judge asks for evidence or whatever, and then get proven wrong, because Microsoft would be stupid to lie to a judge. Yeah, you'd be stupid to lie to a judge in general, but especially not when there's $75 billion on the line. So let's just assume that all the layoffs were pre-planned, as he suggested, and let's assume that Steve Denusa didn't leave, that he was actually laid off. Is that because Chris Metzen's back on the scene running the show, and there's a clash of ideologies, a clash of ideas? I have to wonder, if I'm Steve Denusa and I've been responsible for the direction of the Warcraft sort of canon, as it were, for the past God knows how many years, and all of a sudden, Mikey Barr brings Chris Metzen back, and Chris Metzen's, and the first point of call is, yeah, we're gonna do a whole, basically, Chris Metzen cinematic universe. Yeah, I've written out 3 whole ass expansions. It's a whole story arc designed by me. I'm presenting at BlizzCon, not Steve Denusa. All this kind of stuff. It felt like even back then, Steve Denusa had been utterly sidelined, if he hadn't have left already by then anyway. So it does kind of feel like this was possibly intentional. I mean, I do wonder, like, if because when you unsubscribe to World of Warcraft, they give you that little survey, don't they, where you can like submit reasons for leaving.
I've never unsubscribed. I don't know. Do they? Is that what they do?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I've unsubscribed a couple of times over the years, and you do get a little survey, a little questionnaire, like why did you leave, and and you can talk about reasons why. And I suppose one of the bullet points, I haven't unsubscribed in a while now, but back the last time I did, one of the bullet points was like, story and writing and stuff like that. So I suppose if they had metrics that one of the pain points for user retention was the quality of the writing, and Steve Denusa was responsible for that, then it kind of, precedes the idea that maybe he was fired on that basis. But that is the purest form of speculation. I have no idea why he left. He could have just been like, screw this, I'm out, don't want to work for Microsoft. Maybe he's an Apple guy, he just prefers Apple stuff.
Maybe. But you're right. All we have is speculation. And that's what's funny, I think, kind of seeing the fallout of this and people finding this out is now everybody knows why. Everybody knows why he left, or what he was responsible for, or what's his fault. When the one thing that I've discovered in my time playing this game and being around it as a content creator or what have you is most of us have no fucking clue what actually happens inside the halls of Blizzard. Like, no. We don't know how work is divvied up. We don't know what the flow of knowledge is. We don't know what the assignments are. We don't know any of those things. We know titles and we know faces when we see them in interviews and stuff, but I have no earthly idea right now what he was actually responsible for, what he had the final say on. Now, is part of my fantasy that Chris Metzen got mad because Arthas got done dirty and maybe had to, make a sacrifice for that? Maybe. I mean, I wasn't happy about that. Was the retconning or whatever of Sylvanas my favorite? No, I didn't like that either. Is there some evidence that Stevie Denuser was as the internet kids say, a simp for Sylvanas and inserted himself as Nathanos into the story? I don't know these things. This is what I see in conversation. None of us know these things. It could be true. It may very well be the furthest from the truth. We just don't know. And if nobody says anything, and all we're left with is, okay, well, here's my best guess. And at the end of the day, it may not matter. My honest opinion is, we know what happened with Alex Afrasiabi. We know there was a dumpster fire going on over there. And we also know that they have to work years ahead when they're building these expansions. So my honest gut feeling has always been, was that Denuser and his team got handed whatever was left of that when Afrasiabi got booted. They tried to do the best they could to wrap up Shadowlands and then to give us Dragonflight that was different. It was fresh. It was, yes, it was more light and familial and,
Disney.
So it was more Disney, more soul bearing, like all of those things, right? But up until recently, people were along for the ride. People were pretty happy with Dragonflight, and now that it's kind of winding down, I notice a lot of people having criticism that, oh well, now that we're looking at it, now we've had the clarity of hindsight, perhaps. Well, now this was a problem and that was a problem, and I'm not saying they're wrong. It's just I think he did a pretty good job for what he had. And was it what I would have done? No. Was it what other people would have done? Clearly not. But just because something, like you mentioned, just because something doesn't match my head canon doesn't make it wrong. And it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it different a lot of the time. Now, I know that there's people that have done deep lore dives and there's inconsistencies and there's problems across stuff. And I'm not saying that there isn't. But what I am saying is that I think that we've gotten a pretty good deal up to this point. And if the company decided they were going to do something different, make it even better, to do the Chris Metzen fucking Infinity War saga arc, I'm fine. Like, I'm okay with that. I wish Stevie Dan well, and hopefully he's okay. I'm sure he'll land somewhere. It'll be okay.
I mean, you kind of said it right that they had a mess to salvage in some ways, but yeah, hopefully he lands well.
I'm sure he'll be okay. He'll write himself something Nathanos Sylvanas fanfic and get himself.
I actually really like Nathanos, man.
I did too.
My laptop's named Nathanos. In Windows. All my devices have got like different.
Who's the
characters.
simp now? Oh God. I love it. Well, in the meantime, I assume some of his work finally came to light here with patch 10.2.5, which we have not even talked about yet because of all the other bullshit that's been going on. We talked about it, I think, our first show, that it was our first show together here of the year, that it was coming and that there was a bunch of stuff in it, and we'd talk about it when it happened, and then the floor fell out from beneath us, and so now here we are. Patch 10.2.5. It's been out for a little while. A bunch of you probably played through it and forgot about it, but we're gonna cover some stuff here. So if you remember this, great. If this is news to you, then Awesome. Thank you for getting your news from Unshackled Fury. I really appreciate it. So, first and foremost, out of the gate, the biggest thing, certainly when I saw it and when the patch hit, I knew this was what I was going to do first, is the reclamation of Gilneas. That was the biggest, that was the brightest star for me, because it's a zone that I think is super cool, and it's one that's underused. And just from an alliance side, like, yes, let's get it back. Let's make it a city. Let's do the thing. Let's close Gen's storyline to an extent. We've been following this since fucking Cataclysm. Let's go. Let's get this done. And so it gave us an opportunity to play through a quest line where Horde and Alliance, we meet up. There's the Scarlet Crusade, the Scarlet Forces, whatever. They're in Gilneas. We're gonna blow up some gates, and we're gonna kill some dudes, and we're gonna fight back, and we're gonna reclaim Gilneas. And in what I thought was honestly a surprisingly short quest line.
Yeah, it was vanishingly short, wasn't it?
We got it done. It was great. You know, we fought the Scarlet Leader, who turned into this massive light elemental, and we had a battle and all of that. But before I get to the very, very end, I hate to say it, I was a little underwhelmed. I thought there was going to be more. And
yes.
Again, that's me being married to my own thoughts. But I thought there would be more. What about you?
I mean, first of all, yeah, I thought there'd be more too, but I think part of it is like the Night Elves got a whole like patch cycle and raid dedicated to reclaiming their home.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's sort of like, do you watch the WWE?
Not as much as I used to. I've been kind of slowly getting back into it, but I'm well aware of existing storylines and personalities.
Well, it's kind of like in the WWE where like you build someone up, and you know they're up and coming, and then you sort of throw them under the bus for whatever reason, you know.
Oh, is this the Cody Rhodes?
I suppose that's what's on my mind, yeah, a little bit. But it was just kind of like we had this big build up to what a city reclamation patch should look like with the Emerald Dream, the whole thing, and then we get this sort of 5-minute little God, I think I had that whole thing done in like maybe less than 10 minutes, with weak everything. Like what? Honestly, like I had this kind of feeling with the Forsaken Heritage questline kind of ties into the reclamation of Gilneas. I don't know if you knew that, but I went and did the Forsaken Heritage questline on my priest, and I was pretty disappointed with that. But it was like, yeah, whatever. It's a Heritage questline or whatever. But it's like the Scarlet Crusade's back in force, and it's like, wait, what? How? Where? Why? When? How did this happen? Why is the Scarlet Crusade back? How many more times will we teach you this lesson, old man? Kind of thing about the Scarlet Crusade. It just kind of feels like they shuffled a deck of cards and was like, we need a villain that makes some vague kind of sense to be in Lordaeron. The only one that makes any sense is the Scarlet Crusade, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense really. Why all of a sudden they've managed to recruit presumably millions of new soldiers to assault the Undercity by themselves. Didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I was just like, yeah, whatever, it's just a Heritage questline, right? I was disappointed though, because some of the Heritage questlines are really cool. The Orc Heritage questline is one of the best questlines in the whole game, I think. And then the Forsaken Heritage questline is just lame. But then it was sort of like a follow-on, like the Gilneas Reclamation's a follow-on from the Heritage questline. It's like, yeah, okay, you push the Scarlet Crusade out from the Undercity, and now they've been pushed all the way back to Gilneas, where they've been apparently hanging out in secret since Cataclysm, which nobody knew because most people were using Gilneas for furry erotic roleplay reasons. But apparently
the fog of it all. Oh, man.
The fog of it all, yeah. So in canon, all the Worgen hanging around in Gilneas on the RP servers were actually hanging around with Scarlet Crusaders apparently building an army all this time, which, you know, the Horn Alliance summarily show up and immediately decimate in mere seconds. And then you've got this whole sort of new thing, which is like the light void elemental monstrosity thing, which has also got people confused. It's like, what is that exactly? It's a void walker, but it's also a light thing. And I know those they've shown up before in I think they're in, what's that zone? They're in Revendreth, aren't they? I think those sort of light thingy majigs, void walkers, if I remember right. I don't really know the real nature of them. Are they actually anything to do with the Void Walker, or was it just a convenient model to recolor and stuff like that? You never know sometimes. And Blizzard's always like, yeah, gameplay comes first over writing, and we know that painfully well that gameplay comes first over writing and stuff. But this felt like a real opportunity, a missed opportunity to, you know, do some justice to the zone. Maybe update the art, have a like full patch out of it. You know, like if they'd kick the can down the road, and maybe like the War Within, you could have a whole patch dedicated to Silverpine, maybe, where like the world, like you know how the Forbidden Reach patch was, where it's like you could have like a whole patch to, you know, and explain a bit more why the Scarlet Crusade's there, and you know, and then have like world quests there, maybe add a dungeon or two there, you know, to sort of flesh out the lore of that zone and sort of do it justice in the way that you did the Night Elf Reclamation storyline, you know. So it does feel like this horrible missed and rushed opportunity where they were just kind of like, we need something for this patch, and we've sort of married ourselves to this roadmap, which, you know, is cool in one sense, but at the same time, it's like the fact that you were so aggressive in pursuing this particular roadmap has now left us with this sort of half-baked content, which for anyone who's, you know, passionate about their character or their Worgen or the lore around that, it leaves a bit, you know, a real sour taste in the mouth, right? It's kind of like, okay, so Night Elves are what Blizzard's saying there is Night Elves are super important to us. Worgen's not so much, you know, stuff like that. Orcs are really important to us. Forsaken, not so much, you know, and I suppose
people aren't even happy about what the Night Elves are getting. Like the Night Elves aren't even happy about what they've got. They got a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and Night Elves are unhappy because it's not Teldrassil, you know, and it's like, I personally don't think that's a big deal that it's not Teldrassil. I mean, Teldrassil burnt to a crisp, for God's sake. Get over it.
Don't need to remind
Get over it. You know, you're lucky you get this tree back, you know?
Oh my goodness. Oh, listen, this is what happens when I, you know, by the way, anybody that listened to the first episode of this show, please understand that it was a full-on joke about not knowing Jez is a Horde-aligned person, because man has a fucking Horde tattoo right on his forearm. It's hard to miss.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
just in case.
Dude, I loved the whole... I know people were freaking out so bad about Battle for Azeroth and the tree burning down and that whole thing. I loved that patch. I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for all these years, is an actual serious war between the World Alliance.
War and Warcraft, baby. That's
World
what it's
of Warcraft.
about.
I loved it. I was like, yes, this is what I always knew Sylvanas was waiting to do. You know, all the hints that she was actually a psycho evil bitch, you know, and now here it is, fully unleashed. I loved that whole arc, but there's so many people like, oh no, not my waifu, you know. I was like, oh come on, they're not
that was
gonna.
Steve Denuser.
Yeah, they're not gonna give her. How can you be redeemed from genocide? You can't do it. There's no coming back from this. But they still tried.
They tried.
It's just like, dude, no needle. Way. She should have been killed by Malfurion or Tyrande or something, like in a battle to the death, And then, it should have been something like that, not this sort of wimpy little, like, and that, as well as in the Horde, the Forsaken Heritage questline, Sylvanas appears, I mean, this is spoilers for anyone who cares about the Heritage questline, but Sylvanas appears at the end of it, and she's just like, yeah, I'm still doing my penance in the what's it called? The Maw. In the Maw, I'm still getting all the souls back, and it makes me feel, redeemed or whatever. I can't even remember what she said. I was just like rolling my eyes so hard. I was like, that's not my Sylvanas. That's not my Sylvanas. My Sylvanas would be formulating some kind of plan to get out there. She'd be harvesting the souls and using their power to grow a new army and then come back or something.
The new jailer, just like we always intended.
Yeah, the new jailer. Maybe she could. Yeah, man, that could have been so cool. But
there it is.
Nah, they're turning her into this little weed, and it's really depressing. I was so desperate for context about that whole I'm going off on a rant here and I apologize. I was so desperate for context about Sylvanas. I actually read the book, the Sylvanas book, and I hate reading, dude. I hate reading so much.
Says a man who is a managing editor of a major news website.
Yeah. I'm a professional writer, but I hate reading. It's so boring. I'm like, this is why we have video games. This is why we have television shows. So I don't have to think while I'm indulging.
No,
content.
I'm with you.
But I was so desperate for resolution with Sylvanas. I read that whole last book and there was just nothing. Just this weird story about lava worms and shit. And I was just like, oh my God, there's nothing here. There's no hope.
You got to learn about the brother and the whole thing. But yeah, no, to bring us back on course here, I think that I think pretty much there's no daylight between us on the Gilneas opportunity, and what more there could have been. That being said, because I'm a sucker for this stuff, it does end in a cutscene with Tess and Gen, where again, Taryn Gregory and the crew always upping these in-game cutscenes, and now like freaking Gen has like, that little part in the corner of your eye, like your tear ducts, like they've now added those into the models. I mean, they just keep adding these little things that just make them all.
Like, I mean, once again, the art is amazing.
The art is saving it. And they had a little scene there that I probably give too much emotion to all this stuff, but I thought it was a really touching scene that they crafted there, where Gen's put on blast for essentially taking his daughter for granted and, always being there and being a badass. And he's off fighting another war, taking another surrogate kid or doing some other shit. And for anybody that's ever been kind of left behind by a parent, that shit runs deep. And so to kind of have that little moment between them where he, tries to set things right, understands that he fucked up, and then hands the keys literally to her, where she's now in charge of Gilneas, and effectively ending his, I think, storyline to a good point, where it feels like a lot of this, and we'll get to this with the next part of the patch that was really consequential. It feels like they're starting to turn over who the leadership is throughout the game, where it's not going to be Gen, it's going to be Tess. For the Night Elves, it's like that's going to be changing. Like there, you can see that there is an evolution that is happening here, and they've talked about how, Shadowlands was closing a chapter or closing a whole part of a book or whatever the fucking euphemism they used, and then Dragonflight is kind of like moving that forward a little bit further, and that to me feels like that probably is a good idea, that we're starting to get new people in places where we can tell fresh stories or have different takes, different lenses on what we're going to be doing. So that part I liked. That part I liked quite a bit. Because then, as I was just mentioning, that feeds into the next part, which is Belemeth, which is that Night Elf city, that whole area, which your voice was echoing through my brain as I was going through this. It is very much a starter zone. All the language that's being used, all the stuff that they've put in there, like, it is very much a starter zone. when you get in, right, there's some short quests, and when you get into the patch, there's some short quests that have these epilogue videos and some other things going on. There's some little, stay a while and listen type situations where there's some characters talking, like Caligos and Khadgar have a little chat, and Caligos is stepping down from the Council of Six, which is like, bro, you're an aspect. You don't need to be doing this shit anymore, so don't worry about it. There's some other conversations with the Black Dragonflight, but it was the three kind of cinematics again that they had that start to really put that final nail in the story of Dragonflight and get that turn going towards War Within. For Belemeth, essentially it's Malfurion finally comes back, because we'd wondered about that, now that the trade with Ysera had been made, where was Malfurion? Malfurion comes back, Tyrande runs and jumps in his arms, and they kiss and swing around, and it's a whole scene. And I thought it was nice, even though I think Malfurion is like the most deadbeat husband of all time. It was nice to see that there's love between them, and that their adopted daughter, right, that she's there, and that they're bringing her in, and like, yes, we love you too, and guess what, you're in charge, because we're gonna be over here in this hut fucking for like the next however many years. I mean, clearly they're saying something about they need some alone time, and we know what that means. But having Chandris now step into that leadership role is what that very much feels like, where Tyrande's like, yes, we're here at Belemeth, and we have these other sacred places, and they even drop the, when something happens on the ashen shores of Teldrassil, we'll be there too, which seems to be another like, maybe in the distance Teldrassil will come back. But it's that handoff after that cinematic, this little chit chat there, where they're like, you know what, we're taking a break, we're gonna go over here to the sex hut. They don't call it that. I'm just calling them. I'm just saying that they're just going to be over here, spending some quality alone time, and you're in charge. So now we have yet another one coming in. And so I look at those. I look at Anduin finally coming back into the fold as this, he's fucked up, but he's still young. And just that changeover now of the old guard to the new. Some of it is clunky, but I like it. I like that they're moving the story forward in that way. And before we get to the other two sort of epilogue parts of this, I just wanted to button this one up here. What did you think of this part of the story, this part of the epilogue? Is it satisfying at all for you, or are you just like, all right, let's just be done and get out of here?
I'm just thinking about which alliance leader I'm going to kill first, frankly.
Motherfucker.
Well, no, it's kind of annoying, to be honest. Because it gives me like, I mean, are you familiar with anime at all? Like, do you know like the whole drama between Naruto and Boruto when because they did this. I just
know about a guy who runs weird with his arms behind him. That's it.
Yeah, that's basically Naruto. I haven't watched Naruto myself, but there's this whole meme about how like, because Naruto has like 1 million episodes, and like they do this in Naruto as well. It's like they pass the torch on to his son Boruto, or whatever his name is, and everyone hated it, So it's like, we want the OGs back. We want the OGs back. So like, I think like it'll become like a classic Coke moment where people are like, we want these old characters back. And I do realize that some of them are actually getting old. Like Gen Greymane, I suppose, is actually aging. But there's a lot of them are elves, and they don't really age to the same level. They're not on the same time scale. I mean, I'm not even sure what the status of Night Elves' immortality is now. Do they get it back and have the trees back, or what? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think they're immortal again.
Yeah,
I think they're just really long lived.
Yeah, so well, even still, like they're really long lived. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, Tyrande's. I mean, some of these characters have earned a break. Sure. I mean,
she needs a break more than anybody. She needs a break. Like, she better be getting a rub down and some serious service in that hut. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
like she's earned that shit 100 times over.
They actually posted a picture of what they're up to on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this. but they posted like a selfie photograph from a goblin camera of the three of them, Tyrande, Malfurion, and Chandris, doing a spot of gardening in Bannermouth. A really, really sweet little photograph, you know. I thought, that's so lovely, isn't it? That's so nice and cute and alliance-y with the little plants popping off there. Imagine if there was a big barrel of blight poured all over that.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, but yeah, I don't know, man, because I wouldn't mind it so much, right, if they weren't homogenizing the storyline between the Alliance and Horde, because that's kind of like, that's a big hook for me, and it always has been, and I think it will be for a lot of the OG players who are coming from Warcraft 3.
I agree.
I want the Horde and Alliance to kill each other. That's what I'm here for. But
I believe in the factions.
Yeah, they're sort of they're moving away from it, I think, partially because there's not as many players as there were, and like having combined queues makes it much easier and quicker to find a group and stuff like that. But I'm kind of like, you can do that anyway, because all the players are we are playing as mercenaries at the end of the day. It's not like, you know, it's not like we're Alliance and Horde soldiers. We're all playing as mercenaries, you know, and adventurers and treasure hunters, really. So, like, I mean, you could still have the merged queues and just sort of imagine that you're working with a mercenary alliance or whatever, which have existed in the lore since forever, you know, without compromising the full-blown faction war. Or, you know, you could do something clever, like move it to like a shadow faction war where there's still, you know, pockets of the Horde Alliance that do want to scrap, and, you know, and because that, again, happens in real life. You have proxy wars. You know, would like after 2 decades of fighting over Arathi Highlands, would the Defilers really just be like, yeah, okay, we're all sunshine and rainbows and lollipops now, you know? Like, it feels like they haven't given a lot of thought to this. And again, it comes back to that whole sort of idea of like they're just rushing out content without a great deal of consideration for the overarching narrative there, potentially, you know. But maybe there's an opportunity there for, you know, Chris Metzen to bring a bit more imagination to proceedings about how all this works without compromising Warcraft's historical identity. You know, maybe we'll see cracks and fissures and tension appear again someday, because it's not like they're going to turn PvP or Battlegrounds off, is it? You know,
Nope.
You know, and there's still, you know, there's still gonna have to be like Battleground vendors and stuff. What I wonder what they'll be saying, you know, when they're kind of like in the war within, in a world where there's this you know, supposed treaty. You know, what will they say? What would the law be?
They're just the bad kids that can't be helped.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I don't know.
Like when you're bad, you can just go fight in Alterac Valley, get the energy out.
Yeah, something like
a
that.
Bad kid.
But I suppose, like, you know, just to round it off, the homogeny I'm getting at really is the fact that all the characters feel the same right now. Like the major faction leaders, like they're all like, what is their motivation now? Like just defending Azeroth and stuff. You know, we've got, and it's the same on both factions too. Like the even the Forsaken faction leaders are soft, and you know the Orc faction leaders are soft, and you know I don't even know the Troll faction. Rockhan, like who's he? What has he done? You know, he's dude from the comics or something.
Hanging out in Zandalar. I don't know.
I'm probably offended a load of trolls. I'm not really that familiar with troll lore because I don't really care about trolls. But
don't worry, nobody listens to this show anyway. It's fine.
But yeah. I just I'm not.
No, I think you and I are very much on the same page because I've always been like keep the war in Warcraft. But I will tell you, the predominant comment I hear, and it's like 90+% of the people do not care about faction conflict. They don't want it. They want to break down the barriers. They want to be able to raid cross faction. They want cross faction guilds. They want cross faction everything, to the point where like they break it down. But some of us have to be holdouts, Jez.
Yeah.
Some of us have to hold the wall there.
I really think with a bit of imagination, you could do both. You know, with a bit of the headcanon, like I say, could be, we've got some Alliance race mercenaries in our Horde guild, and stuff like that. But I don't know. Hopefully someone at Blizzard will, figure it all out, because I do think the game's lost a lot of its identity over recent years, and all the faction leaders are the same. There's no motive. There's no scheming anymore. Like Sylvanas was always scheming, and Gen had his grudges, and Garrosh was scheming, and where's Galliwick's gone? He's just completely vanished. And and I suppose the most interesting character right now really is Anduin. Like, I kind of feel like, is Anduin going to go off the rails? Is he going to go mental? I'd love that. That'd be great. Yeah. That'd be really interesting. But I'm here. We'll see what happens, I guess.
We will. And to that end, just to wrap up the last two sort of epilogue parts. One is that we got one more, I don't know, sit down with the aspects where they gave us praise and declared us champion of the Dragonflights, and that was it, right? And then there wasn't even a title, and then they patched in a title. They hotfixed in a title, so now you can walk around like, yes, I am the champion of the Dragonflights or whatever, which is fine. And then it's, it's feel-good stuff, which for me, it's fine. I know it's not for everybody, and that's cool too. But the third and final one that I want to touch on is the most consequential, and it is clearly the one where it's like, this is the end of Dragonflight, this is the beginning of the War Within, is the one between Viranoth and Iridikron, where you see Viranoth is summoned, gets a summons from Iridikron, and then they go meet on a snowy mountain peak that he basically blows up as he comes over it. And they confirm, yes, the ties of the incarnates, has ended, and she's scolding him for what he's doing, and Iridikron's basically like, yeah, I don't know what the Void's doing, but I trust that they're out to do some shit, and I just want to kill the Titans, wipe them out, and sounds like we're all aligned in that, so stay out of my way. And that's the fun little tete-a-tete that they have. I love Iridikron as a character. I love Viranoth as a character. I'm gonna miss Farak. Like, they were all good. They were all great. So I look forward to more of Iridikron like in the future. But I really appreciated that they actually did something that was like very clearly like, this is the turn of the story to the next thing that we are doing, and we're doing it now. So I really enjoyed that. But what was your take on that?
Yeah, man, I agree on Iridikron, Viranoth, and Farak. I thought they were three really well written characters overall. I know some people were kind of hoping that the expansion would basically be we go and kill each one of them off, but I feel like that'd be a waste. They're too good. Like, yeah, especially like Iridikron strikes me as like really, really, really cool and smart and interesting, and a little bit more complicated a villain than perhaps some of the, the jailer, I suppose. So yeah, like, I do wonder, but again, it's kind of like I've been down this road before where it's like, okay, Sylvanas is up to something really clever here. She's up to something really clever here. She's gonna be okay. That's a bit weird, but it's all part of the plan. It's fine. It's gonna be good. Yeah, that was a bit weird, but I'm sure Sylvanas. Oh god, she didn't have a plan at all. There was no plan.
Nothing.
There was no plan at all. So so maybe this whole stuff with the Iridikron will play out the same way, where they just they can't stick the landing or whatever. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of enjoy it and see where it all goes. I mean, there's the whole stuff with Xalatath, and Naifu, and the Void, and all that
we got
the
next 5-6 years of that shit coming. So
yeah, it's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be wild. It is definitely gonna be wild. So that sort of wraps up Dragonflight as a story, and time will tell. And it seems that there was a little bit of a revisionist history, I feel like, happening, but the honest criticism as well that's coming. But I feel like overall it's been pretty solid as we head into this next mega super Metzen arc and whatever comes with it. And obviously we'll be talking about that. But that was not the only thing that happened in 10.2.5. We also got a few more things. One, maybe the best one, dragon riding became available worldwide. And It's at I think they still kept the slightly reduced speed, but quite honestly, I don't notice because I have been jamming around on my dragon riding mounts almost exclusively. They have now the distinction here, right? It's not the old flying mount, not the static flying mounts, whatever they call it. Those have not yet been given the ability to dragon ride. That's War Within. This now is that we can use our dragon riding mounts basically all over the place. And there was a quest for the Lunar Festival holiday that's going on right now. If you didn't know, Lunar Festival happening right now. Also, Love is in the Air is happening right now for another week or so. You have to like charge this staff, so you have to go to all these moon wells all around Kalimdor. First time I've ever really seen Kalimdor from a great height since they've done all of the lighting and changes and everything. And so to do the dragon riding, where you also kind of get like that zoomed out sort of effect when you speed up. And so to see it all coming kind of down from Hyjal, like down into that southern part of Kalimdor, was rad as fuck. It was so much fun. And it reminds me partially why I love this game so much. It's just so much fun to ride around and see these places and just kind of enjoy going around and just doing the simple quests, but it's just fun just riding around. And I kind of forget sometimes because being a raider almost exclusively, it's always like, what's the next thing? Push for this, get this, load this up, grind this out. Sometimes I forget to just stop and have fun. It's, the Pandaren thing, like slow down.
Touch digital grass.
What's that?
You forget to touch some digital grass.
Yes, touch some digital grass. That's right. And I did that, and it was fun. So dragon riding, here to stay. It's fucking rad. I assume you love it too.
Yeah, dragon riding is awesome. Like this has been one of my biggest criticisms of the modern WoW, and that's this idea that nothing you earn sticks with you. It's always borrowed power this, borrowed power that.
Yeah.
But rightfully so. It seems we're moving away from that, and we're moving towards permanent expansion additions. Like dragon riding is going to be here to stay forever. The new profession system is going to be here to stay forever. Not perfect on professions, and hopefully they do improve them, because they basically shipped this whole profession system, then barely touched it for all of Dragonflight, which I think was a bit of a shame. But I'm much more excited about permanent additions to the game than these temporary things like, stuff in the past they had, like, island expeditions and war fronts and all that kind of stuff, which just didn't have the longevity, I suppose. But, it's, like, I haven't tried dragon riding Kalimdor yet myself. We're kind of on a raiding break at the moment. We do that every season. We basically we basically get ahead of the curve, and then we all take a break from the game.
Smart.
It works really well for our guild. Like, it's really, really cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing next with that stuff. Like, isn't the expectation that they're gonna do more physics-based ground riding? I think. I'm sure. They either announced that at BlizzCon or someone discovered it in the files or something.
Could be.
The more interactive riding is so much more immersive than just like the speed boost aspect of it. So makes you feel just more involved in the game in general. It's a really great addition. I love it.
It's more alive, and it's fantastic. Meanwhile, I have not touched Azerothian Archives. The people I've seen playing it have not given it rave reviews, so I don't know that I'm going to touch it, so I don't really know if I have much to say about it at all.
I looked at the rewards and just like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So if you're enjoying it, great. I'm sorry, I have nothing else to say. It doesn't sound like either of us do. But the follower dungeons, to button this up, that I did enjoy quite a bit, and I will fully admit I had a couple of dungeon quests that I've had since I leveled a year ago that I haven't done, and I did them on my own, and it was awesome. And I'm very happy with how that AI tech is working out, and I know it'll only get better, and maybe we can do some, mythic zeros or +1s or some low level shit. But I thought it was great. I really had a good time being able to turn it over to them and just DPS and do my thing and like not have to worry about people's bullshit. I enjoyed it immensely. So
that's pretty cool.
I'm very happy that it's around. I know we are running up on time here. We have a few more things for you folks. Patch 10.2.6 looks like it's coming out in March. We'll see what that looks like. And then there were some hero talent previews and some other stuff that we can get to next time. So, including trading post ratings. We owe all of you January and February. Don't worry. We have time. We will get to it. There's one more episode in February and we'll do both. So before we go, this is a bit of a personal note. I just wanted to lay on here because it's my podcast. I can do this. This week, in fact, in 3 days, I'm gonna be flying out to, for lack of a better term, as I understand it, memorial service for a member of my guild, a longtime member of my raiding team, and a member of our leadership team. He went by the name Rasklin, and I still, to this very moment, don't know his real name. I don't know what he did as an occupation. I don't know. His wife raids with us. I don't know her name either. Their child raids with us. I don't know their name either. All I know is screen names. All I know is character names. That's all we've ever known. That's all he's ever shared with us. A guy that was super secretive, but was somebody who was such an integral part of our team, had the greatest wit and such an awesome voice, and he was such a treasured person to have around. And when we lost him before Christmas, it was a shock to the team. It effectively ended our raid team. We don't really raid as a team anymore. So it was quite a blow. And I've had some time to reflect on that just for myself. It's a funny thing what we do here sometimes, where, growing up, we weren't supposed to play video games as adults. It's something that you were supposed to stop as a kid. And as I got older and I found Warcraft especially, and I kept playing, and I kept getting older. Well, so did everybody else that I played with. And I found people decades older than me playing this game. And I was always shocked early on, like, wow, really? You're like 50. You're playing this game? Yeah, playing this game. And it really became clear to me that meeting people online and joining guilds and having friendships and raid teams and all this stuff, like we have created a different kind of societal architecture for ourselves where these relationships are as legitimate as anything that we have offline. And the proof of that is that out of the 5 of us, 4 of us will be there to honor the 5th. In person. In their house. With their family. And I'm very honored that they're allowing us to do that. I didn't know if they would feel comfortable. But it was something that if we had the opportunity to do, I knew I was going to. And even if that means traveling a distance in potentially some perilous weather, I don't give a fuck. I'm running a 4-wheel drive. I'll make it work. But to be able to do that, it's very special. And, for all of us that have these friendships, treasure them, cultivate them, appreciate them, because it's easy to hide behind a screen name. It's easy to hide behind a keyboard. It's easy to hide behind sort of this anonymity. But if you open yourself up and you allow yourself to be open in that way, there's some really great experiences waiting for you out there. And to Rasklin, to his family, love you. I miss you. And I'll see all of you very, very soon. All right. I think we've done enough damage for one episode. So for those of you for those who don't already know, where can the good people find you on the internet, Jez?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter That's Jez Corden, Jezcorden, or Jez, as the Americans say. And I'm also on WindowsCentral.com. So yeah, rocking and rolling. I mean,
and be nice to him, goddammit. Don't
be
you
nice
Xbox motherfuckers need to calm down. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the Xbox world right now. Yeah. But you're totally right about like the friendships we make in game and stuff. And you know, I remember when I started playing this as an 18-year-old or 17-year-old. There was a dude in our guild who was in his 30s, and we called him Gramps. Which is laughable now because it's like everyone in my guild is like between the ages of like maybe 28 to 30. I think the youngest guy, there's like one guy in our guild who's like 19 and 20ish, and like he's the odd one out, he's the young one, so it's like really weird, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's you know, it's an awesome thing that you're able to go and do that. But yeah, the friendships we make online are definitely real friendships, and yeah, I'm still speaking to people I met in WoW 20 years ago to this day. You know, it's crazy.
It is.
But yeah, good show, man.
Right on, and appreciate you as always, sir, for being here, and my thanks to all of you for listening. And remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter at Berzerker Rage and Unshackled_Fury, on Blue Sky at Berzerker and Unshackled Fury, which everybody can join now, so jump on there, as well as on Twitch at Unshackled Fury and Real Berzerker. You can also join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of the show on Twitter and on our bonus roll page. And yeah, we're doing pretty good over there as well. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources or unshackledfury.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.